Admiral, you'll be destroyed, Day One protested. You can't sacrifice you. The siege of Vela Prime. The holographic display on the Defiance bridge showed a nightmare scenario. 83 Krethic vessels approached Vela Prime in a coordinated attack formation. Admiral Jiwoo's fleet consisted of 7 damaged ships, 15 operational fighters, and crew members who had been in continuous combat operations for 3 days with minimal rest. Thexnor's scarred face appeared on the main screen. His expression showed cold satisfaction as he surveyed the human fleet's positions. Deathworlders, Thexnor said, his voice carrying across the bridge. Your bravery is admirable. Your stupidity is legendary. You are outnumbered 12-1. Your ships are damaged. Your supplies are limited. Surrender the Vellani and withdraw to your own space. Do this and I will allow you to leave with your lives. Refuse and I will destroy every ship in your fleet. Admiral Jiwoo kept her face neutral, though her hands gripped the command console tightly. Thexnor, you ran from 7 human ships 3 days ago. Now you need 83 vessels to feel brave enough to return. That tells me everything about your confidence in this fight. The Krethic commander's eyes narrowed. 3 days ago I underestimated you. I will not make that mistake again. You have 10 minutes to decide. After that we attack. The transmission ended. Jiwoo turned to her tactical officer, Commander Hyojin, who was running battle simulations on her console. The results looked grim. Best case scenario? Jiwoo asked. We last maybe 40 minutes before they overwhelm us. Hyojin replied honestly. We can inflict heavy casualties, probably take out 20 or 30 of their ships. But they have numbers and we're already damaged. The math doesn't work in our favor. Worst case? They focus fire on 1 ship at a time. We lose vessels every few minutes until nothing's left. Hyojin paused, then added quietly. Admiral, Earth Command's orders were clear. We're not supposed to engage. I know what the orders said, Jiwoo replied. She looked at the planet below, visible on the main screen. 4 billion Vellani lived down there. People who had done nothing wrong except be peaceful in a galaxy that didn't always respect peace. But I also know what's right. Open a channel to all ships. When the channel connected, Jiwoo spoke clearly and calmly. All crew, this is Admiral Jiwoo. I won't lie to you about our situation. The odds are terrible. Most tactical models predict we'll lose this fight. If any of you want to transfer to a ship that withdraws, you have 5 minutes to do so. No one will question your decision. She paused, gathering her thoughts. But here's what I believe. The Galactic Union won't come in time. The Vellani Defense Forces can't stop this attack. If we leave, an entire civilization dies, and every species in the galaxy will learn that humanity makes promises it doesn't keep. They'll learn that we only protect others when it's convenient and safe. I became an admiral because I wanted to represent the best of humanity. Jiwoo continued. Today, the best of humanity means standing between innocent people and those who want to harm them. It means keeping our word even when it's hard, even when it's dangerous, even when the smart choice is to run away. The channel was silent. Then Captain Minseo's voice came through from the battered frigate Relentless. Admiral, if we're going to die, we might as well make it count. The Relentless volunteers for forward position. The Indomitable stands with the fleet, Hyojin added from her station. One by one, every ship confirmed their commitment. No one transferred. No one withdrew. Lieutenant Tae Yang, preparing his fighter in the carrier Thunderchild's Bay, checked his weapon systems one last time. Around him, 14 other pilots did the same. They were all that remained of the original 50-fighter squadron. The odds said none of them would survive the next hour. Formation leaders, check in, Tae Yang said over the squadron channel. His pilots responded, their voices steady despite the fear everyone felt. These were people who had trained for years, who had survived the brutal process of becoming military pilots on a high-gravity world. They knew fear. They just didn't let it stop them. On the bridge of the Defiant, Tactical Officer Dong-hyun finished his calculations. Admiral, I have a proposal. It's insane, but it might buy us time. I'm listening, Jiwoo said. The Vellani energy crystals that the Krethic want so badly, they resonate at specific frequencies. Dr. Yoonji has been working with Vellani scientists on a medical project, but I think we can weaponize the crystal resonance. If we can generate a system-wide electromagnetic pulse using the planet's crystal deposits, we could disable every ship in the system for approximately 40 minutes. Including our own ships, Hyojin pointed out. Including our own, Dong-hyun agreed. But we'd have time to prepare. We could harden our critical systems, prepare for manual control, position our ship strategically before the pulse hits. The Krethik won't see it coming. Jiwoo considered the plan. It was desperate, dangerous, and likely to cause significant damage to their own fleet. It was also the only option that gave them a chance. Make it happen, she ordered. Contact Dr. Yunji and get her team working on it. We need that pulse ready in 8 minutes. Down on Vela Prime's surface, Dr. Yunji was already in the main crystal research facility with a team of Vellani scientists. The proposal from the Defiant appeared on her datapad, and her eyes widened as she read it. Can this work? She asked the lead Vellani scientist, a researcher named Tirsol. Tirsol's luminescent skin flickered through several colors before settling on a determined gold. Theoretically, yes. We've never tried to generate a pulse of this magnitude. The energy requirements are enormous and the timing must be perfect. If we're off by even 2 seconds, the pulse could overload the crystals and cause catastrophic explosions. How long to set it up? 7 minutes. Maybe 6 if we skip safety protocols. Yunji opened a channel to the Defiant. Admiral, we can do it. But I need the Vellani Defense Council's authorization to potentially destroy half their crystal deposits. Captain Daewon's voice came through immediately. Authorization granted, Dr. Yunji. Do whatever is necessary. Our crystals are worthless if our species is extinct. The next 6 minutes were a chaos of preparation. Human crew members across the fleet worked frantically to shield critical systems and prepare for manual operations. Taeyang's fighter squadron moved into position near the planet, ready to engage the moment power returned. Captain Minseo guided the Relentless to the forward position, her battered frigate ready to take the first hits. On Vela Prime, Yunji and the Vellani scientists configured the crystal network, their hands moving across holographic controls with desperate speed. The young engineer Youngsik had volunteered to help, his Earth-trained reflexes allowing him to work faster than most Vellani in the low gravity. 30 seconds, Tirsol announced, his voice tight with stress. The Krethik fleet opened fire. Energy beams and missiles streaked across space toward the human positions. The Relentless took several direct hits, her shields flaring and failing. Hull breaches erupted across 3 decks. 20 seconds, Yunji counted down. More Krethik ships fired, focusing their weapons on the carrier Thunderchild. The massive vessel shuddered under the impacts, armor plating melting under concentrated energy weapon fire. 10 seconds. Admiral Jiwoo gripped her console as the Defiant was hit, the bridge lights flickering. Around her, crew members braced for what was coming. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, pulse. The planet's surface lit up like a star. Energy cascaded from millions of crystal deposits, harmonizing into a single massive electromagnetic wave that expanded outward at the speed of light. It hit the Krethik fleet first, and 83 warships went dark simultaneously. Their engines died, their weapons powered down, their shields collapsed. The vessels continued moving on momentum but were effectively dead in space. The pulse reached the human fleet seconds later. Despite preparations, the effect was devastating. Power systems failed across all 7 ships. Emergency lights flickered on, casting everything in red illumination. Bridge displays went dark, replaced by backup systems that showed only basic information. But the humans had prepared. Crew members switched to manual controls. Engineering teams worked in the dark with tools and training that didn't require computer assistance. Damage control parties moved through corridors by flashlight, sealing breaches and rerouting power. 40 minutes. That was how long they had before the Krethik systems would reboot. 40 minutes to repair what they could and prepare for the battle's second phase. Captain Minseo stood on the Relentless's bridge, water dripping from a broken pipe above. 3 of her crew were injured. Her ship had 11 hull breaches and her main reactor was operating at 20% capacity, but she was still in the fight. Engineering, she called into the comm system, now working on backup power. I need thrusters and weapons. That's it. Life support can wait. In the fighter bay, Taeyang and his squadron worked to manually restart their craft. The fighters had been hardened against the pulse better than the larger ships. Within 15 minutes, all 15 fighters were operational. Thunderchild, Taeyang reported. Squadron is ready for launch, requesting permission to engage enemy vessels while they're disabled. Admiral Jiwoo considered the tactical situation. The Krethik ships were helpless right now. The human fighters could The Galactic Backlash Ambassador Su Jin stood in the center of the Galactic Union Council chamber. surrounded by holographic projections of over 200 species representatives. The circular room stretched high above her, designed to make individual speakers feel small and insignificant before the collective weight of galactic civilization. It was a psychological trick that worked on most species. Humans, however, had learned long ago not to be intimidated by large rooms or crowds. The council speaker, a tall being from the Trill Consortium named Vexmir, gestured with 3 of his 6 limbs. His translator rendered his speech in crisp, formal English. Ambassador Sujin, humanity stands accused of violating Galactic Union protocols regarding military intervention. You deployed warships into the Vela Prime system without council authorization. You engaged in combat operations without declaring your intentions through proper diplomatic channels. You destroyed over 30 vessels, taking lives without exhausting peaceful options. How do you respond to these charges? Sujin took a slow breath, gathering her thoughts. She'd known this was coming. The reports from Vela Prime had spread across the galaxy within hours of the battle's end. Some species praised humanity's action. Many more expressed fear or anger that humans had acted so decisively without waiting for bureaucratic approval. Council Speaker, Sujin began, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber. 3 days ago, the Velani broadcast a distress signal. A civilian population of 4 billion beings faced imminent attack by the Krethic swarm. The estimated Union response time was 6 days. The Krethic would have completed their attack in less than 2 days. Are you suggesting that we should have waited for authorization while an entire civilization was destroyed? Vexmir's expression didn't change, but several other council members began speaking at once, their translators creating a cacophony of voices. The speaker raised a limb for silence. The proper protocol, Vexmir said slowly, would have been to relay the distress call to the nearest Union forces and await instructions from this council. Individual species do not have the authority to conduct military operations within Union space. With respect, Council Speaker, Sujin replied, her tone sharpening. Those protocols are designed for political disputes and trade disagreements. They are not designed for immediate threats to civilian populations. By the time your committees met, debated, and voted on a response, the Velani would have been extinct. A council member from the Rin Collective, a species known for their cautious approach to everything, spoke up. His holographic image showed a being covered in soft fur, his large eyes blinking slowly. The ambassador's point is noted. However, humanity's military response raises concerns. The battle reports show combat tactics of extreme aggression. 7 human vessels destroyed or crippled 38 enemy ships. This level of military efficiency is disturbing. It suggests that humanity poses a potential threat to galactic stability. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the council chamber. Sujin felt anger rising in her chest but forced it down. Losing her temper would only confirm their fears about aggressive Deathworlders. Let me make sure I understand correctly, Sujin said, her words precise and controlled. You're concerned that humans are too good at defending civilians? That we're too effective at stopping pirates and raiders? Would you prefer that we be less capable, so that species like the Krethic can continue their attacks unopposed? You twist our words, Ambassador. Vexmir responded coldly. The concern is about intentions and control. Today, humanity used military force to protect the Velani. Tomorrow, you might use that same force to threaten others. Power without oversight is dangerous. Before Sujin could respond, another hologram flickered to life. Captain Daewon of the Velani Defense Council. He wasn't supposed to be part of this session, but apparently someone had granted him speaking privileges. Council Speaker, I apologize for the interruption, Daewon said, his translator carrying a note of urgency. But I must speak. The Velani people wish to go on record regarding humanity's actions. Admiral Jiwoo and her fleet saved our civilization. They asked for nothing in return. They offered medical supplies, food, and technical assistance without demanding payment or concessions. When given the opportunity to pursue the fleeing Krethic fleet, they instead stopped to ensure our safety. These are not the actions of aggressors. Captain Daewon, Vexmir said, his tone softening slightly. No one questions that humanity helped your people. The question is about precedent. If we allow individual species to conduct military operations without council approval, the Union's authority becomes meaningless. Sujin saw her opening. Council Speaker, with respect, the Union's authority already appears meaningless when it cannot respond to distress calls in time to save lives. Perhaps the problem isn't that humanity acted too quickly, but that the Union's procedures are too slow. The chamber erupted in chaos. Council members shouted through their translators, some supporting Sujin's point, others accusing humanity of arrogance. The speaker called for order repeatedly, his 6 limbs gesturing frantically. In the confusion, Sujin noticed something odd. A cluster of council members, including Vexmir, exchanged quick glances that seemed coordinated. Years of diplomatic experience told her there was something deeper happening here, something beyond simple bureaucratic concerns. The session eventually adjourned without resolution. As the holograms faded, Sujin contacted Intelligence Officer Hyunwoo on the secure channel. His face appeared on her personal display, showing the interior of his office aboard the embassy ship. "I need you to investigate something," Sujin said without preamble. "Focus on council members who spoke most strongly against humanity's actions. Specifically, look into Vexmir and the Trill Consortium. Something doesn't feel right about their opposition." "I'll start digging," Hyunwoo replied, his fingers already moving across his console. "What am I looking for?" "Financial connections, trade agreements, anything that might explain why they're so upset about us stopping the Krethik. Most raiders like the Krethik operate with some kind of backing. Find out who benefits when they succeed." Hyunwoo worked through the night, pulling records from trade databases, financial networks, and intelligence reports. What he found made Sujin's blood run cold. The next morning, she called an emergency meeting with Earth's diplomatic team. On the secure holographic display, Hyunwoo presented his findings. 3 council members, including Vexmir, have significant financial investments in mining operations, Hyunwoo explained, highlighting connections on a complex web of relationships. These operations often purchase salvage rights to systems where the original inhabitants have been displaced or eliminated. In 4 separate instances over the past decade, the Krethik swarm attacked a world, and within months, Trill Consortium mining operations acquired rights to those systems at bargain prices. "They're using the Krethik as proxies," Sujin said, her voice tight with anger. "They fund the raids, the Krethik do the dirty work, and then the Trill move in to exploit the resources. Vela Prime's energy crystals would have been worth billions." "It gets worse," Hyunwoo continued. "I found communication records between Vexamir's office and known Krethik intermediaries. The messages are encrypted, but the pattern is clear. They knew about the attack on Vela Prime before it happened. They could have warned the Velani or mobilized Union forces. They chose not to." Sujin stared at the evidence, her mind racing through the implications. This is bigger than just criticizing humanity's military response. They're trying to paint us as the problem to distract from their own criminal activities. Back at Vela Prime, Admiral Jiwoo received a classified briefing about the political situation. She stood on the Defiance Bridge, reading the reports with growing frustration. Her tactical officer, Commander Hyo-jin, looked over her shoulder. "They're actually upset that we saved the Velani?" Hyo-jin said, disbelief clear in her voice. "They're upset that we interfered with a profitable scheme," Jiwoo corrected. "The question is, what do we do about it? Earth Command is ordering us to avoid further confrontation with the Council." As if summoned by those words, the long-range sensors detected something that made everyone on the bridge tense. A large fleet was approaching the system, over 80 vessels moving in formation. "Identify those ships," Jiwoo ordered. The sensor operator worked quickly, cross-referencing the signatures. "Admiral, it's the Krethik swarm. They've returned with reinforcements." Captain Daewon's face appeared on the communications screen, his luminescent skin flickering with patterns that clearly indicated fear. "Admiral Jiwoo, our sensors show the same thing. The Krethik have brought overwhelming force. Your fleet is in no condition to face them. You should evacuate while you can." Jiwoo looked at her crew. The Defiant had taken damage in the first battle, and repairs were only 60% complete. The frigate Relentless was barely operational. They'd lost 15 fighters with no replacements available. By any tactical assessment, staying to fight would be suicide. "Captain Daewon," Jiwoo said slowly, "when we arrived 3 days ago, we made a promise. We promised to protect your people. That promise doesn't have an expiration date based on convenient military circumstances." "Admiral Jiwoo," Daewon said softly. "You came. You act first contact protocol." Dr. Yoonji adjusted her environmental suit for the 3rd time, checking the readings on her wrist display. The gravity aboard the medical frigate Sanctuary had been reduced to .4 standard. matching Vela Prime's surface conditions. Even at that low level, she could feel the difference. Her movements felt strange, almost floating. Every step required conscious control to avoid launching herself into the ceiling. Around her, the medical bay had been transformed into a meeting space. Furniture had been replaced with lighter materials that wouldn't injure the Vellani if they accidentally bumped into it. Sharp corners were padded. The lighting had been shifted to wavelengths that wouldn't hurt their sensitive eyes. Everything about the space screamed, "We're trying not to scare you," which only made Yunji more nervous. "They're terrified of us," she said to Commander Hyojin, who stood nearby in her own environmental suit. "They watched us fight. They know what we're capable of." Hyojin nodded, her expression thoughtful. "Can you blame them? Their entire species evolved on a low-gravity world with minimal predators. We come from Earth where gravity crushes you, where the weather can kill you, where half the plants are poisonous and the other half are trying to eat you. To them, we must seem like walking nightmares." "That's not helpful," Yunji muttered, but she knew Hyojin was right. Humanity's reputation had spread across the galaxy faster than any official diplomatic effort. Other species told stories about the Deathworlders, the beings who considered one gravity comfortable, who ate food that would poison most galactic citizens, who had turned warfare into an art form out of sheer necessity. The door slid open, and Captain Daewon entered, accompanied by 3 other Vellani. Yunji's first impression was how delicate they appeared. The Vellani stood about 5 feet tall, their bodies slender and graceful. Their skin had a faint luminescent quality, shifting through soft blues and greens. Large eyes dominated their faces, adapted for low-light conditions. They moved carefully, each step measured and precise. Daewon stopped a respectful distance away, his body language showing obvious caution. His translator device activated, converting his speech into standard English. "Admiral Jiwoo sends his greetings and apologies that he cannot attend this meeting personally. Fleet repairs require his immediate attention." "We understand," Yunji said, keeping her voice soft and non-threatening. "Thank you for agreeing to meet with us, Captain Daewon. I'm Dr. Yunji, xenobiologist and cultural liaison. This is Commander Hyojin, tactical officer of the destroyer Indomitable." One of the other Vellani, a younger individual whose skin flickered with nervous patterns, spoke quickly to Daewon in their own language. The translator didn't pick it up, but Yunji could read the body language: fear, uncertainty, hesitation. "My colleague Velsa is concerned about the environmental conditions," Daewon said carefully. "The gravity level is appropriate, but she wonders if you are comfortable. We understand that humans require much higher gravity to function normally." "We're fine," Hyojin assured them. "Our suits compensate for the difference. We've adjusted the room to your needs, not ours. Your comfort is our priority." This seemed to surprise the Vellani. They exchanged glances, their skin patterns shifting to colors Yunji didn't know how to interpret. "Cultural translation would take time. Please sit." Yunji gestured to the specially prepared furniture. "We brought some items from our ship. Gifts, to demonstrate our peaceful intentions." The Vellani sat cautiously, their movements graceful even in their obvious nervousness. Yunji retrieved a storage container and carefully opened it, revealing several items she'd selected from the sanctuary's supplies. "First, medical supplies," she explained, showing them sealed packages. "Basic wound treatment, antibiotics that our analysis suggests are compatible with your biology, and sterile bandages. We noticed your orbital hospitals took damage during the battle." Daewon reached out tentatively, taking one of the packages. His hands trembled slightly. "This is generous. We have medical supplies, but our orbital infrastructure was damaged. These will help." "Second," Yunji continued, "portable food synthesizers. They're programmed with chemical compositions that should be safe for Vellani consumption. We wanted to ensure you have adequate nutrition supplies if your agriculture systems were compromised." Velsa spoke again, this time in halting English. "You bring medicine and food? Not weapons, why?" The question hung in the air. Hyojin leaned forward slightly, careful not to make any sudden movements. "Because you needed help, not threats. We came to protect you, not to conquer you." "But you are warriors," Daewon said, his luminescence dimming slightly. "We watched the battle. You destroyed 38 Krethic vessels in 2 hours. Your ships move at accelerations that would kill most species. Your fighters navigate through debris fields at speeds that seem impossible. You are the most effective military force we have ever witnessed." "Yes," Yunji acknowledged, "we are capable of violence. But capability doesn't equal intent. Humans learned to fight because we had to. Our world gave us no choice. But we also learned to protect, to help, to heal. Those instincts are just as strong. A fourth Villani who had remained silent until now finally spoke. His skin showed deeper blue patterns indicating age or authority. I am Councilmember Helvin. I must ask the difficult question that all my people are thinking. You saved us today, but what happens tomorrow? What happens when you decide you want our energy crystals, our technology, our world? The room fell silent. This was the core fear, Yunji realized. The Villani weren't just afraid of the Krethic. They were afraid of becoming dependent on another powerful species that might eventually become their oppressors. Hyojin answered before Yunji could formulate a diplomatic response. Council member, I'm going to be direct with you because I think you deserve honesty. Humanity is new to the galactic community. We don't have the networks, the trade agreements, or the political influence that older species have. What we do have is a reputation as dangerous Deathworlders. She paused, making sure the Villani were following her words. That reputation can work two ways. Either we prove that we're aggressive conquerors who use military force to take what we want, or we prove that we're protectors who use that same force to defend those who need help. Today we chose the second option. If we choose differently tomorrow, we destroy any chance of building real relationships in the galaxy. Beyond that, Yunji added, we don't want your crystals or your world. Earth has resources. What we want is something more valuable. Friends, allies, and trade partners who deal with us because they choose to, not because they're afraid of us. Day one's skin patterns shifted to warmer colors, gold and soft orange. Bunji hoped that meant he was calming down. You speak honestly. This is refreshing. The Galactic Union representatives always speak in circles, saying much while meaning little. We've noticed that too, Hyojin said with a slight smile. It's frustrating. The tension in the room began to ease. Velsa asked about human culture, her initial fear giving way to cautious curiosity. Yunji found herself explaining concepts that seemed normal to humans but bizarre to the Villani. Contact sports? Velsa repeated, her skin flickering with confused patterns. You deliberately collide with each other for entertainment? Well, yes, Yunji admitted. Sports like football, rugby, hockey, they're popular on Earth. It's about competition, teamwork, pushing your physical limits. But don't you get injured? Daewon asked, clearly horrified. Sometimes, Hyojin shrugged. Broken bones, concussions, torn muscles. But we heal. Our bodies are built to take damage and recover. It's part of living on a high-gravity world with an aggressive environment. The Villani exchanged looks again. Yunji realized they were beginning to understand the fundamental difference between their species. The Villani had evolved in a gentle environment, where survival meant cooperation and careful planning. Humans had evolved in a harsh environment where survival meant being tough enough to take hits and keep going. The conversation continued for hours. They discussed everything from food preferences. The Villani were shocked to learn humans enjoyed spicy food that caused pain, to environmental conditions to cultural practices. Misunderstandings were common but dealt with patiently. At one point, Sergeant Jae-hyun entered the room to deliver a report to Hyojin. The stocky soldier, built like everyone who'd trained on Earth, moved carefully in the low gravity. But as he sat down in one of the Villani chairs to wait, there was a sharp cracking sound. The chair, designed for beings who weighed perhaps 90 pounds, couldn't support Jae-hyun's Earth-built frame. He crashed to the floor, chair fragments scattering. For a moment, everyone froze. Then Jae-hyun looked up at the stunned Villani faces and started laughing. I am so sorry. I forgot about the weight difference. Daewon stared at the broken furniture, then at the embarrassed sergeant, then at Yunji. Slowly, his skin patterns shifted to bright, cheerful yellows. He made a sound that the translator couldn't quite interpret, but which sounded remarkably like laughter. We will need to build sturdier furniture, Daewon said, amusement clear in his voice. Perhaps this is our first collaborative project. Chairs that won't break when Deathworlders sit in them. The joke broke T. The desperate signal. The alarm system screamed across Vela Prime's orbital command center. Captain Daewon stared at the tactical display with growing horror as red markers filled the screen. 83 hostile vessels had just dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of their star system. The Krathic swarm had arrived in force. Daewon's hands trembled as he gripped the edge of his console. His species, the Villani, had never known war. They were a peaceful people, their bodies delicate and luminescent, evolved on a world with gravity so gentle that a fall from standing height could break bones. Their civilization had reached the stars through mathematics and patience, not through conflict. Now, staring at the approaching armada, Daewon realized how unprepared they truly were. The Krethik were different. They were raiders, pirates, mercenaries who took what they wanted by force. Intelligence reports had warned that they were interested in Vela Prime's energy crystals, rare formations that powered most of the planet's technology. The Vellani Defense Council had dismissed the threat, believing the Galactic Union would protect them. That faith seemed foolish now. Daewon watched the enemy fleet accelerate toward their world. At current speed, they would reach Vela Prime in less than 18 hours. His defense grid consisted of 12 orbital platforms and 6 patrol ships, all designed for peacekeeping and asteroid monitoring. Against the Krethik swarm, they might as well throw rocks. He opened a channel to the Planetary Council. The holographic faces of the 7 council members appeared before him, each showing the same expression of fear that Daewon felt in his own chest. Council members, Daewon said, keeping his voice steady through sheer willpower, the Krethik swarm has entered our system with overwhelming force. I recommend immediate evacuation of all orbital stations and prepare ground shelters. Council leader Vrinta, the oldest among them, spoke in a voice that wavered. Have you contacted the Galactic Union? They promised protection to all member worlds. I sent the emergency request 40 minutes ago, Daewon replied. The nearest Union fleet is 6 days away. They cannot reach us in time. Silence filled the channel. 6 days might as well be 6 years. The Vellani had 4 billion souls living on their homeworld and the orbital habitats. There was nowhere to evacuate them, no way to hide an entire civilization. A younger council member named Helvan spoke up, his luminescent skin flickering with agitation. What about the other species? The trade partners, the research collaboratives? Surely someone closer can help us. Daewon had already considered this. The Vellani had friends across the galaxy, species they traded with and shared knowledge with. But friendship and military alliance were different things. Most civilized species had small defense forces, enough to discourage pirates, but nothing that could face the Krethik swarm. The few species with serious military power were either too far away or bound by the same bureaucratic chains as the Galactic Union. There is one option, Daewon said slowly. We broadcast an open distress call on all galactic frequencies, not just to the Union but to everyone. Someone might be close enough to help. Vrinta looked doubtful. Broadcasting our weakness to the entire galaxy? That could invite even more predators. We are already facing the worst predators known to galactic civilization, Daewon countered. At this point, we have nothing to lose. If we do nothing, the Krethik will destroy us. If we call for help, there is at least a chance. The council debated for precious minutes while the Krethik fleet drew closer. Finally, Vrinta gave his reluctant approval. Send the distress call. May the ancient lights guide someone to our aid. Daewon immediately began composing the message. He kept it simple and direct, knowing that complex diplomatic language might delay understanding. The message read, Emergency distress call from Vela Prime. Hostile fleet of 83 vessels approaching our homeworld. 4 billion civilians in immediate danger. Galactic Union response time 6 days. We do not have 6 days. Any capable species, please respond. Coordinates attached. He broadcasted on every frequency, every channel, every communications protocol known to galactic civilization. The signal would spread outward at faster than light speeds through the relay network, reaching thousands of worlds within hours. Whether anyone would answer was another question entirely. The next hours were agony. Daewon coordinated the pitiful defense preparations while watching the Krethik fleet advance. His patrol ships took up position around the planet, their small weapons ready but hopelessly outmatched. The orbital platforms powered up their defense shields, which might last minutes against serious assault. 4 hours after the distress call went out, the Krethik made contact. A scarred face appeared on Daewon's screen, belonging to a species he didn't recognize. The creature's teeth were sharp, its eyes cold and calculating. I am Thexanor, commander of this fleet, the alien said in heavily accented galactic common. Your energy crystals belong to us now. Surrender your world and we will allow your population to evacuate to your orbital stations before we begin mining operations. Resist and we will take the crystals from the rubble of your cities. Daewon's training told him to negotiate, to buy time, but his heart rebelled. Vela Prime is a sovereign world under Galactic Union protection. Your actions constitute an act of war. Thexnor laughed, a sound like grinding metal. The Union is 6 days away, little light being. We will be gone in 5. Your world stripped of everything valuable. Last chance. Surrender or die. The transmission ended. Day 1 looked at his tactical display, at the 12 defensive platforms and 6 patrol ships that represented his entire military force. Then he looked at the planet below, where 4 billion Vellani lived their peaceful lives, unaware that their civilization might end within a day. He sent one more message, this time directly to all Vellani citizens. He told them the truth. He told them help might not come. He told them to be brave, to remember their history, to hold on to hope even when hope seemed lost. Then he waited, watching the enemy fleet draw closer with every passing minute. 14 hours after the distress call, when the Krethic swarm was only hours from weapon range, something impossible happened. Day 1's sensor operator shouted in surprise, pointing at the tactical display. 7 new contacts had appeared at the system's edge, dropping out of faster-than-light travel in a tight formation. The computer analyzed their signatures and displayed the results. Day 1 stared at the screen, reading the identification over and over: human vessels. From Earth. From the species known across the galaxy as Deathworlders, the terrifying newcomers who evolved on a world so hostile that most species considered it uninhabitable. The humans had come. Whether that was salvation or simply a different kind of doom, Day 1 would soon find out. The Deathworlders arrive. Admiral Jiwoo stood on the bridge of the battlecruiser Defiant, studying the tactical situation with practiced eyes. Her fleet had pushed their engines to the absolute limit, crossing 40 light-years in just 14 hours. The engineering crews were already reporting stress fractures in the drive systems, but that didn't matter now. What mattered were the 83 hostile contacts between her 7 ships and the planet they'd come to defend. Communications, open a channel to the lead enemy vessel, Jiwoo ordered. Her voice was calm, but everyone on the bridge could feel the tension in the air. This would be humanity's first major military engagement since joining the galactic community 3 years ago. Everything they did in the next few hours would shape how the galaxy saw them for generations. The main screen flickered, showing the scarred face of the Krethic commander. Thexnor looked at Jiwoo with obvious amusement, his sharp teeth visible in what might have been a smile. So the Deathworlders have arrived, Thexnor said, his tone mocking. 7 little ships to save the day. How noble, how stupid. Jiwoo kept her expression neutral. I am Admiral Jiwoo of the Earth Defense Fleet. You are conducting hostile military operations against a civilian population. You have 10 minutes to power down your weapons and begin withdrawal from this system. This is your only warning. Thexnor's amusement turned to laughter. The sound echoed across the bridge, harsh and grating. You warn us? You are outnumbered 12 to 1. Your species is barely known beyond your own sector. What makes you think you can threaten the Krethic swarm? 9 minutes 30 seconds, Jiwoo replied. The transmission cut out from the other end. On the tactical display, the Krethic fleet began to shift formation. Weapon systems activated across their vessels, painting Jiwoo's ships with targeting locks. Commander Hyojin, standing at the tactical station, reported the enemy movements. Admiral, they're spreading out to flank us. Classic envelopment pattern. They're not taking us seriously. Their mistake, Jiwoo said quietly. All ships, battle formation Delta. Prepare for combat maneuvers. Authorization code Jiwoo 77 Alpha. Across the fleet, crews rushed to battle stations. On the destroyer Indomitable, Commander Hyojin checked her restraints one last time. She'd grown up on Earth, in Seoul's high-gravity district where they trained military personnel. Her body was used to pressure, used to stress. What was coming next would push even her limits. In the fighter bay of the carrier Thunderchild, Lieutenant Taeyang climbed into his cockpit. Around him, 50 other pilots did the same. They were the tip of humanity's spear, small craft designed for speed and maneuverability. Taeyang had logged over 2,000 flight hours, but this would be his first real combat. His hands moved through the pre-flight checks automatically, while his heart hammered in his chest. Captain Min Seo commanded the frigate Relentless, positioned at the edge of the human formation. Her ship was smaller than the others, faster but more fragile. In the coming battle, she knew her vessel would likely take the worst beating. That was fine. The Relentless was built for punishment. designed by engineers who understood that sometimes the best defense was being able to survive long enough to hit back. "All ships report ready," Hyojin announced. "Enemy fleet moving to engagement range." Jiwoo took a deep breath. "Weapons free. Show them what Deathworlders can do." The battle began with a missile exchange. The Krethic swarm launched first, hundreds of warheads streaking across the darkness between fleets. Human point defense systems opened fire, railguns spitting metal at velocities that created small stars where projectiles met missiles. The humans' accuracy shocked the Krethic. Almost 90% of the incoming missiles died before reaching their targets. Then it was humanity's turn. Their missiles were different, guided by artificial intelligence programs that could think and adapt in microseconds. They dodged, weaved, and coordinated their approach patterns. The Krethic point defense designed to hit predictable targets struggled to keep up. Explosions blossomed across the enemy fleet. 3 enemy vessels damaged, 2 destroyed, Hyojin reported, her voice tight with controlled excitement. Their closing range for energy weapon engagement. This was where the real test began. Energy weapons required line of sight, which meant ships had to face each other directly. It meant physics became the primary weapon: acceleration, velocity, positioning. The human ships moved in ways that made the Krethic fleet commanders pause in confusion. They accelerated at 8 gravities, then 9, their crews held in place by advanced restraint systems and trained endurance. Most galactic species blacked out at 4 gravities. Humans called 4 gravities uncomfortable. Hyojin's destroyer Indomitable led the charge, accelerating directly toward a cluster of enemy vessels. At the last moment, she fired maneuvering thrusters and the ship twisted sideways, still moving forward at tremendous speed but now presenting its armored flank. Energy beams struck her shields, but the destroyer's momentum carried it through the enemy formation like a knife through water. As she passed, her broadside weapons fired, tearing into enemy hulls at point-blank range. 3 Krethic ships broke apart before they could react. Taeyang launched from the Thunderchild with his squadron, 50 fighters moving in perfect coordination. They dove through debris fields using destroyed ships as cover, moving at speeds that would have torn apart most galactic species through sheer acceleration stress. Human reaction times, honed by millions of years of dodging predators and catching prey, let them navigate spaces that seemed impossibly tight. A Krethic cruiser tried to target the fighters with its point defense. Taeyang's squadron split into 3 groups, approaching from different angles, never staying in a straight line for more than 2 seconds. By the time the cruiser's targeting systems locked onto one fighter, it was already somewhere else. The squadron's missiles impacted along the cruiser's spine, crippling its main reactor. Captain Minseo's frigate Relentless took the heaviest fire. She was the distraction, the target that drew enemy attention while the other ships maneuvered. Energy beams scorched her hull, melting armor and venting atmosphere from 3 decks. But the Relentless kept fighting, kept moving, its weapons never stopping. Hull breaches on decks 4, 5, and 7, her damage control officer reported. Shield generators at 30%. Portside weapons offline. "Keep us in the fight," Minseo ordered, blood running from a cut on her forehead where she'd hit the console during a hard maneuver. "As long as we can shoot, we're still dangerous." The Relentless fired its main railgun, a weapon that used magnetic acceleration to throw a solid slug of depleted uranium at a significant fraction of light speed. The projectile punched through a Krethic destroyer's shields like they weren't there, continuing through the ship and out the other side. The destroyer broke in half, its reactor going critical. Admiral Jiwoo watched the battle unfold from the Defiance bridge. Her tactical display showed a chaotic mess of moving vessels, energy beams, and explosion markers. But within that chaos, she could see the pattern. The Krethic fought like they always had, using overwhelming numbers and straightforward tactics. The humans fought like their ancestors had fought on Earth, using every advantage, adapting constantly, turning the environment itself into a weapon. A Krethic battleship, larger than any human vessel, tried to bring its main weapons to bear on the Defiant. Jiwoo ordered her ship into a gravity assist maneuver around a nearby moon, using the celestial body's pull to accelerate to impossible speeds while simultaneously turning. The battleship's weapons fired where the Defiant had been, missing by thousands of kilometers. The Defiant emerged from behind the moon already firing, its weapons targeting the battleship's exposed reactor housing. 2 hours into the battle, the tactical situation had completely reversed. The Krethic swarm had lost 38 ships. The human fleet had taken damage. The Relentless was barely functioning. 2 other ships had significant hull breaches, and they'd lost 9 fighters. But they were still combat effective. Thexner's face appeared on Jiwoo's screen again. This time there was no amusement. His expression showed something the Admiral recognized from Earth's history books, the look of someone realizing they'd made a terrible mistake. "You fight like demons," Thexner said, his voice tight with barely controlled fear. "What kind of world creates beings like you?" "The kind of world that teaches you to protect those who can't protect themselves," Jiwoo replied. "You have one chance to surrender. Take it." The transmission cut out. On the tactical display, the Krethic fleet began to scatter. Individual ships breaking formation and fleeing toward the system's edge. Thexnor's flagship was among the first to run, its engines burning at maximum as it desperately tried to reach jump distance. "All ships, cease fire," Jiwoo ordered. "Let them run." Our mission was to protect Vela Prime, not to destroy the Krethic fleet. Around her, the bridge crew began to cheer, but Jiwoo held up a hand for silence. "This was just the first round. They'll be back, probably with more ships. We need damage reports and repair estimates immediately." As her fleet began recovery operations, Jiwoo opened a channel to Vela Prime. Captain Daewon's luminescent face appeared on screen, his expression showing wonder and disbelief.